I'm a co-founder of a clothing brand. It's called HLOM and HLASEL. Basically means is arm yourself and attack.
Share with me some of the struggles and hurdles that you've heard ever since you started.
The business was based in one area where all the suppliers were close by. I moved as the entrepreneur to a different location. I didn't know how much of an impact it would have as far as production was concerned, because now I'm not in as much contact with my suppliers. It had a ripple effect as far as getting the supplies, producing, and
Everyone, welcome Mfundo. I hope this conversation is going to be fruitful to you guys and to us who are going to be having this conversation. How are you doing, man?
good.
You good?
Very good, yeah.
I see you're a bit nervous.
Yeah, man, it was too many cameras, too many lights. Yeah, but it is what it is, yeah.
Take me through your background. Who are you?
My name is Mfundo Zwane, and I'm from the Val. I was bred there. Did my high school there. I went to university there. So yeah, pretty much that sums it up. The Val, Sibukeng, if anybody knows it, it's more south of Johannesburg, but it's within Gauteng province.
Oh, you're from Gauteng?
Something like that.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought you were from around here in Durban.
Yeah, like get that a lot. But it is what it is. Yeah. So that's pretty much my background, who I am as far as
Okay.
that's concerned.
And you studied in the Val.
Correct.
Now you've got your own brand, you've started your own business, right? I want to know, how did that come about? I would like to also talk more about engineering, how you started having a passion for that, but just take me through your brand. How did that come about, and where are you now? Where do you want to be?
I'm a co-founder of a clothing brand. It's called HLOM and HLASEL. Basically means is arm yourself and attack. That's the literal meaning of it. But there's different contexts you can apply that concept in, as far as preparing yourself for whatever challenge. That could be ukloma, or arming yourself, and effectively applying what you've equipped yourself with. That could be a form of attacking. So that's the whole concept behind it, is to arm yourself and effectively apply what you've armed yourself with. So we started branding clothes together with my co-founder and I. We started off with t-shirts. We moved on to bucket hats, and eventually wanted to branch off into more active wear, or athleisure, or I don't know, sportswear.
Okay.
So we realized that HLOM and HLASEL is quite a long name for a clothing brand. So we came across the name Nelson as a sort of a sub brand that would represent our sportswear line. What Nelson primarily means is son of Neil.
Okay.
Nelson means son of Neil, and Neil meaning champion. So
Right.
direct translation is son of champion, but like father, like son. What Nelson is pretty much as a champion. So how that comes into play is, once you've armed yourself and you've made an attack, and you come out on the other side as the victor, you come out as champion. So we found it as a fitting name that could represent our sportswear line. So we started off with sweatshirts. And I think we made what differentiated us. What was the differentiator was the sweatshirt, the Nelson sweatshirt. which put our brand, I don't know, into the scene, pretty much.
Right.
If I would put dates, we started this in 2014. I was doing first year. My co-founder was a couple of years ahead of me.
You've been in the business.
Yeah, I've been in the business for more than a decade now.
Right.
So that was in 2014. However, it's only recently whereby we registered a business, even though the trademark was registered in 2014, same year we launched.
Yeah.
We only registered the business in 2025 and started to sell online as far as online store is concerned.
Yeah.
We launched the online store 2025 together with the Tracksuit line. So that's basically where we are right now. We are a tracksuit business. So we sell two pieces and supporting clothes, like we have a waistcoat, we have t-shirts as well, made of the same fabric that we produce the tracksuit from. So yeah, that's basically how we started in 2014 and where we are right now. We are primarily an online business. So yeah, but we'll speak about the details in, I don't know, later on in the interview.
Right. So just share with me some of the struggles and hurdles that you've heard ever since you guys started from 2014 until this day.
The business was based in one area where all the suppliers were close by. I moved as the entrepreneur to a different location. I didn't know how much of an impact it would have as far as production was concerned, because now I'm not in as much contact with my suppliers. It had a ripple effect as far as getting the supplies, producing, and getting the product to the customer, because now it was even affecting marketing, because before I was in front of my customer, but having moved from where I used to be, I was away from the customer, so I couldn't advertise as effectively as previously. So I think that was one of the challenge that affected business for a very long time. I think from 2016 till 2024. You know, there was a decline as far as sales were concerned. But as an entrepreneur, when you look at your mistakes and you understand, okay, this is what made me successful initially. This is how I got my first customer. And if now you can document that and create a system from that, you can now get a new customer and a new customer. So, and also now understanding how you can utilize systems to integrate your supply chain, as far as you not having to be in a particular location, but creating systems that can run themselves. So even if you're not in a particular location, but your supply chain is interconnected as systematically, so you don't need to be there. Even if you're not there, the systems can run on their own. I think that's a learning that came out of that misfortune previously. So yeah, right now what we've done is we've duplicated our successes as far as getting customers and retaining them. And now also incorporating systems in our supply chain, which assist the business to run on its own without us being there, present physically.
You're an engineer. And I know that when you're in the industry of engineering or any other industry that requires a lot of effort and requires your presence daily, it can be a bit hard to build something of your own. And I noticed that with myself, because oftentimes I find myself feeling really, really tired to do anything else, because I'm going to go to work, when I come back, I know I need to record. Maybe I need to record or edit, but I'm going to feel really, really tired. I just want to hear from you how has being an engineer impacted you in being an entrepreneur as of today?
Okay. Okay, I would answer that in two ways. Specifically, since I studied industrial engineering, we deal with problems of efficiency and improving efficiency, systems and problem solving rather. So I think where the intersection came is that engineering, the technical world, lacks in, having a personal touch. And the creative world, as far as clothing business is concerned, it lacks that structured touch to it. So I believe that's where the intersection comes, and that's primarily what I wanted to bring into the business is more structure, as far as it being a creative business. And that being said, the work and I don't know, passion balance, if I would put it like that, comes in the beginning stages of creating a system. I think I felt that effect primarily when you are creating a website, when you are now sourcing, for example, in the clothing business, where you are physically going out to look at various fabrics and finding the right factory that can produce the clothes for you, and finding the right people who can brand for you, who can package for you. It takes a lot of physical effort, to be able to balance that. So I used most of my weekends and your long weekends and your holidays in order to do that core groundwork to a point where now you are confident with where you're getting your fabrics. You're confident with who produces for you, who brands for you.
You don't need to be physical.
You don't need to be physically there. And once you've even thought of it from even through to courier services, it becomes much easier for you to not be physically involved in the business itself. The business can pretty much run itself. From the time a customer places an order online to the time they receive it. You don't need to physically be there because you have all the people that you've tried and tested, and you've created the system, and it's become a reliable system. So for me, it's at a point where the only time I check up on it is during breaks, and after work. I'm able to to look into the affairs of the business, but it's not as physically demanding as the initial setup. So what's helped is creating a system that runs itself. You're able to focus on your core job, your 9 to 5, and check in on your business since it's running itself pretty much.
I understand that. I'm just very curious about the entrepreneurship journey because I've recently ventured into that. I started my podcast as a standalone show on YouTube when I started last year. But as time went by, I started to get more knowledge, more learnings about how podcast works, what is a podcast, and then that's why I discovered that I can actually host it on Spotify as well, on Apple Podcasts and other platforms. And then as time went by, I realized that actually there are platforms that are podcast hosts that I shoot my episodes, I post my episodes on there, and then they distribute for me through an RSS feed. So those baby steps that I've been making have kind of opened my mindset to be like, you know what, actually this is not just a show, but since I'm someone who've always been wanting to venture into business, let me rather not go and look for something else. It's going to be heavy on me. I'm working 9 to 5. I'm pushing my podcast. So if I come now and add another thing that is going to be physically demanding, or it's going to need me to be present most of the time, I might not be able to make it to where I want, because I need to be able to focus on one thing, if possible, and make sure that I become a master in whatever I'm focused on. So yeah, I just recently registered a business, Vision Nexus. So it's Vision Nexus is a mother company, just like your company name, HLOM and HLASEL. Vision Nexus is the mother company. Under it, what it has already now is 2 shows that are featured on YouTube and Spotify. It's Beyond the Vision, as well as the Daily Thoughts of a Visionary. So I registered that as a company because I want to channel it in a way that it's not just going to be, a show. I didn't start this for entertainment purposes, or just so that we can push time. This is to serve impact. This is to change people's lives. So the plan for it is very clear. As I continue to grow, I'm going to have more shows. All those shows that I'm going to have in the future, they're going to come under that brand. You know what I mean? So I just want to understand, and because I'm very curious, what's the entrepreneur thinking way when you're trying to brand something? Because I'm as far as I know, I'm doing what I can. As far as I'm concerned, I'm doing what I know already. But what are some of those tiny little secrets that, as a person, you started in 2014? So your experience is better than mine. I just registered my business a few weeks ago. So what are some of those secret tips that you can give me to say, because you've started this now, to brand yourself and to scale your business? These are some of the tips or some of the steps that you need to take. Whatever that you know, if you can share that with me.
I think it's a good thing that you mentioned now, that you do research. I feel like that's first step, and finding out, whatever industry you're in, who's the leader in that industry, and if you know who they are, furthering your research into finding out how they got to be number one. Whether we look at even South African podcasters, and I think there's one guy from your culture, who's doing really, really good, in the industry. Is finding out, how he started in the industry and what he did in order to get where he got to, and also finding out who the competitors are, who's number 2, who's number 3, and just having that knowledge that number 1 is always aware of what number 2 is doing, and also what's also key is mentorship. Then again, if you can't get mentorship from number 1, maybe you can get mentorship from number 2. See how you can add value in their podcast, and what skills can you offer in order for them to develop, as far as their business is concerned. And that you being in that space, you're not coming there as competition, but you're coming there to add value, and at the same time you are adding value to someone who's been in the business for a long time, and they give you access that they wouldn't give to someone who's employed by them. So that type of relationship, that type of mentorship relationship, I think it can assist you to to get your feet solidified in the podcast industry. I'm not really much aware of the industry itself, and as far as how do you scale, in this industry, as far as your branding options are concerned. I'm not that aware of it. But I know that if you can come into contact from a mentorship perspective, from the guys who are leading in the industry, I think you can get a better, better feedback from those leaders in the industry.
Yeah, no, I do understand, man. And coming down to engineering, you're in corporate right now. You're waking up every day. You have to go to work.
Yeah.
What's the goal? Is the goal to become successful to a level that you want in your business and still continue being an employee, or the goal is what is mostly found from many people who want to venture into entrepreneurship, that they want to break out of the rat race, they want to live a free life? Not that we are slaves, but where we are now, we need these jobs. We need to work because we need to survive. But we know it's not a nice place.
Yeah.
The monetary value that you're getting out of it for your work, it's never enough for you to sustain yourself. You're always going to be having money problems. Like I'm someone who I know problems will always be there in life, but I want to get to a level where, man, money can't always be my problem my whole life. So I want to understand from you, what's the goal? What's the plan? Are you somebody who loves your job so much that you would want to stay in corporate and keep on pushing the business? Because my follow-up question is gonna come depending on how you're gonna answer that, on what is the state for you.
Okay, firstly foremost, I think whatever brings you money, you need to respect it. I think that's what needs to be clear. And also, as an individual, if I were to leave the job too early, there's also risks that are associated with that. Let me make an example. In 2018, I was working for another company, different from the one I'm working at right now. And from having lost that job, even though the business was still existing, but I realized, there'll come a certain time where, your source of capital, comes to a stop. And if your systems are not efficient enough, you might not. It might affect your business in the long term. So what I'm trying to get to is, your 9-to-5 provides you capital, especially in the beginning stages of your business. So once you have that in place and your business is running as a well-oiled machine, and you then see that the demand of your business it requires more of your presence. I think then, as an entrepreneur, you take that executive decision, and especially if you're now making more money than you are making as someone who's employed. I think you would be making an executive decision. But you shouldn't make a decision blindly. Just like in HLASEL, you equip yourself and effectively apply that equipping. You need to know exactly what you're doing. You need to study your industry enough to see whether there's longevity in that industry. And once you take that step, you should know that it will not only affect you but the people connected to you. But one thing to to get into business to make money, I think it's a bit of a risk. I believe it should be a deeper purpose, rooted into
True,
it.
yeah.
For example, if you have a goal of improving localization, right, as an example, and you are working in a company that opens your options out to how to localize, for example. Oh, this is how you create a local supply chain, that is efficient enough to be able to compete against global brands. So if you're in if you're working in a company that already exposes you to that, you can learn as much as you can as far as localization is concerned. And if you do want to branch out into a business that is doing local, is producing locally, you can then apply those skills that you've learned in wherever you are employed at, into the business. So there's skills that you can learn from your place of employment. But besides core skills, you can also pick up on general work culture. Working, it gives you a certain discipline that you can apply as a business owner, as far as your business endeavors are concerned. So I'm not saying milk your place of employment, however, whatever you can learn and whatever can help you improve as an entrepreneur, utilize it the best way that you can, and effectively apply whatever you've empowered yourself by, whether financially, whether skill related, whether vision or purpose related, into your entrepreneurial venture. So whether you wanna leave your job early or late or never, I think it's all a calculated decision, and you need to make it as an entrepreneur, which is the more viable option.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I think this comes also to. I once made a video about how being an employee serves as an advantage to you as an individual if you want to venture into entrepreneurship or you want to build something of your own. Because the aspects that you're mentioning right now, in the world that we are living in, it's very rare that you can get those attributes elsewhere if it's not in the workplace. Because our educational system, yes, it's made to help us learn the theory and some of the practical work that we apply in the real world problems, but that's just like 20% of it, to be honest with you. When you get into the work environment, that's where you get to experience a lot of decision making situations where you have to be able to make, as you were saying, the executive decisions at some point. A lot of those things you learn when you are employed, because you're there, you're expected to deliver. You are there. Some of the things you may not like to do them. You may not like when your boss wants you to do something, but because you are an employee and you need to deliver for what they hired you for, you're going to deliver. And in the journey, all those aspects, they become things that you do naturally. So I think you're mentioning something that is really valid and true, such that when I look back, and most of the people that I know who are entrepreneurs today, they had a job at one point. Most of the people that are successful entrepreneurs today, they had a job at one point. It might not have been a job in a big company. It might not have been a job where they were, in engineering or whatever professional whatever that you can mention, but most of them had a job at one point. And that job, when you listen to their interviews and you listen to their stories, they will tell you what it taught them. So I think being in the corporate space, when you have the entrepreneur mindset and you want to venture into business, it adds to your advantage because your thinking is different. Somebody who just want to be in corporate, they just want to work and they just want to work their whole life and retire, and that's fine. Their thinking capacity, they don't think far like you, who is thinking, this knowledge that I'm getting here in the workspace, how can I apply it into what I'm doing outside work? The person who doesn't have any idea of doing something outside work, they learn for being in corporate, they apply it in corporate, and that's it, and that's done. So I think that's a very important thing that I'm noting from you. And I think it's one of the things that I'm going to keep on applying, that whatever I'm learning, because I'm still in the learning right now, I'm still a junior, I'm still in a very, very entry level in the corporate space. So every aspect of learning that I'm getting, I want to try and consume as much as I can, so that when that time comes where I feel that I need to make a decision now, should I stay, should I do both, should I now leave, I think I'm just gonna be taking in as much as I can and try to apply those things in what I'm working on right now. Tell me about the goals that you have for your brand or any other thing that you want to do in life, because life is when if you think too much about it, you will end up thinking that life is so worthless. You leave, you go to school, you stress about school, you go to work, you stress about your job, your boss, your whatever. You start a business, you start about business, you get old, maybe you don't even get old, and God forbid, then you die. If you sit down and try to think a bit deeper about that thing, sometimes you may think life is so worthless, because at one point you can just be gone. But when you now start talking about a purpose, that's where it becomes a different story. Because when you start talking about a purpose, I don't know if this happens to me only or it happens to you as well. When you start to think you think of things that you're doing and try to align them to a purpose that you believe God has brought you into this world to serve, you get that fulfillment and that completeness of saying, if I can be able to do this, change these people's lives, change this and that, change this industry, achieve this and that, even if I can die after, I think I can die peacefully. So I think it becomes a different story when there is a sense of purpose in it. So I want to understand from you, what are some of the things that you want to do or you're doing right now that you can say, I'm serving my purpose, or I'm on my way to serve my purpose fully?
As a kingdom ambassador, I believe my purpose is influencing the world, with kingdom culture. So you read the Word of God, and you come across writings from, gentlemen like Apostle Paul. They were writing in Ephesians 6 verse 13. People like Paul, they always gave out the nuggets, of kingdom culture. On how to live, like a kingdom citizen. And how to influence, I want to say it again, but influence, the world with kingdom culture. And I just want to read this scripture specifically. Ephesians 6 verse 13. What it says is, put on the full armor of God. That when the day of the Lord comes, you'll be able to stand. I know we've spoken about HLOM and HLASEL, and that meaning arm yourself and attack, and with Nelson, you are eventually a champion.
A champion, yeah.
You know, that touches more of physical armor, and mental armor. If you're looking at it from applying principles or equipping oneself and effectively applying that equipping, that's more from a mental dimension or perspective. But what Paul is saying here is that we need to, put on the full armor of God. So when you read further in the scripture, it speaks about what this armor is. It speaks about belt of truth, shield of faith, etc. It's a spiritual armor. And you'd find this scripture, this Ephesians 6:13, you'd see it's on our Instagram page as far as our bio is concerned. It's on our website. Masiti, when we say HLOM and HLASEL, what as an eventuality, what we're getting to is HLOM, arm yourself with the full armor of God. So I believe that's aligned with my purpose, or God's purpose for my life, is to conscientize, people to not live life blindly, or not to make blind decisions, or not to be unprepared, when going about, the affairs of life, but being well prepared, having put on, armor, and in this case, having put on the full armor of God. So if I'm able to now represent that in clothing, for me, that's one aspect of pursuing my purpose, as far as conscientizing, people to arm themselves and effectively apply what they've armed themselves with. And as an eventuality, come out victorious, come out as a champion. So yeah, and I'm doing that through clothing. And what I've seen is most of the big brands that are doing well, even locally, you find that they outsource their manufacturing overseas, right? And they import these products and retail them locally. So my approach, would be, now how do we now improve, our local content? This has a positive impact as far as supply chain resilience is concerned, and economic development is concerned. Because now, if we are improving our local manufacturing, that's creating jobs, and the more we sell these products, it's having a positive impact on our gross development product, our GDP. So, and in the long term, it's got a positive effect on the economy. So even if I would, you said, God forbid, that I would die, I know that if the systems are still in place that have been set, I know that the legacy will continue.
Yeah. True.
As far as people being conscientized to effectively apply, whatever equipping, and this would have been visualized in clothing that is produced locally and is having a positive impact in the local economy, So primarily, I believe that's, if not my purpose, but it's part of my purpose. But yeah, I think there's many ways on how to represent this concept of HLOM and HLASEL, of arming and attacking. But visualizing it in clothing is one of the ways.
I was very zealous and passionate about building my own thing, and at the time I discovered Jeff Bezos, the guy who started Amazon.com, it was at the time where I was researching about entrepreneurship. I also came across the guy who started a watch company in South Africa. And most of these people that I watched, I realized that each one of them found a sort of a purpose in what they were doing instead of getting the monetary reward from entrepreneurship. I just wanna try and see from you if I'm having the similar view that you have as an entrepreneur, that entrepreneurs have this ability to pay attention to something greater that they know at the end it's going to bring about a return that will help me to sustain my life, to sustain my family, in sort of a monetary value or anything related to that. As much as we're talking about the purpose of God and doing things that you believe God has given you to do, I think, and this is something that is just coming to my mind, I feel like there is some ability that people who have an entrepreneur mindset, they kind of channel themselves to say, I'm going to find a source, just a source of purpose in what I'm doing right now, something that is going to give me that drive to say every day I need to push. Every day I need to wake up and push. Most of the people, these people, they don't wake up and be thinking about, I need to make a lot of money in no time. But they always try to, mold it in a nice way, in a way where you kind of see that, okay, even when these people, when you interview them, they don't tell you that, my goal is to make 5 million rands in the next couple of months or couple of years. But they were gonna give you something that will give you a sense of reason, a purpose behind it. Is this a kind of thinking that just comes naturally to a person, or I don't understand. I understand having a purpose that you believe God has, bestowed in your heart, and you want to serve it and you want to do it just because you believe it's God's purpose for your life. But now let's talk about something that you're trying to do, something that you love, something that you just believe, if I can do this, I'm going to be able to sustain myself. How do you come about with that, sense of purpose from it? Because many people, they always have something to describe what they're doing, to back up what they're doing, without saying, my goal is to make money. Although at the end of the day, you'll see that person's going to make a lot of money. They're going to be very wealthy. But when you go to listen to their story behind it, it wasn't money. How does it come about to an entrepreneur?
I've heard this before. Someone say that the pipe that's bringing water from the municipality to your house, is always wet. For me, it's always purpose driven. When you are pursuing purpose, resources will come as a what's that, a byproduct, if for a lack of a better word. The core of any business is solving a problem. By you solving a problem, that's you fulfilling a purpose somewhere, somehow. And as an eventuality, there is some form of remuneration that you get from that. So money is always involved, or financial resources are always involved in you producing a product, that solves someone's problem, or you providing a service that will in turn solve someone's problem. And you solving someone's problem, I don't think there's any problem solver who's not doing that and that not being purpose driven. I feel like every problem that is being solved is as a result of a purpose connected to it. So as you are solving this problem, manufacturing this product, and selling this product, which will solve a problem, or you are offering a service, as an eventuality, there is a form of remuneration will follow. So just like the pipe, sending water from the municipality to someone's house always being wet, you can also extend that to as pursuing God's purpose. When God blesses us to be a blessing, those blessings, they go through us, and as they're going through us, our needs are covered, and He blesses us beyond beyond our needs. Sometimes God blesses you and your cup overflows, whether monetary related or otherwise, but as you are doing the work of God, as you are being a blessing to other people, you are receiving those blessings, and it shows that you are a person who has received blessings from God. So whether it shows in you becoming wealthy or whatever, but what I was trying to get to is, in your pursuit of delivering a service or offering a product, there is a form of remuneration that will come from that. And as you are doing or pursuing God's purpose, as you're becoming a blessing to other people, you are being blessed in the process of it. So you chasing money, for me, is defying the whole, thinking way as far as what a person is doing, But if you understand that what you're actually doing is you're solving a problem, your focus will be solving the problem, and the money follows you solving the problem, pretty much. Yeah.
So the thinking way of an entrepreneur is that the goal is to solve a problem.
Correct.
But we understand that there is a byproduct that has to come out of it.
Correct.
Monetary,
Correct. Whether monetary or however, whatever is of value.
Yeah.
That will be as form of a return of you offering your service. It could be non-monetary. It could be advice. It could be whatever. But there is a return. That could also be money. Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, I'm asking this question, I'm asking you, and I'm asking myself as well. So we both gonna answer it. Let's say in your business that you're doing right now, you were to continue, or you were doing it and not making any profit at all.
Yeah.
Would you keep going with it, even though you can see that there's no way I'm gonna make profit? Like if it was said, there's no way you're gonna make profit in this business, would you keep going for the sake of the purpose that you have in your heart and your mind? Or would you consider doing something else that you will also again find a sense of purpose in it, but having hope that there will be some sort of returns, like in a profit way? So I want you to answer that question. I'm going to answer that as well. Would you keep going if ever you're told there's no way you're going to make profit in this business?
I would keep going, but I wouldn't call it a business. I'd call it a hobby, because I think primarily what makes a business survive is profit. And if you're not making profit, if you're not driving sales which then equate to profit, business will die. And if you want to keep on injecting money into a business that is not generating income, what you're doing is you're pursuing a hobby, even though you're pursuing your purpose. But it's not the business, it's a hobby. But the moment you are pursuing your purpose, you're solving a problem, you are generating profit, then you're running a business. And if you're able to grow that business, then now you start tracking your success in that business. But it's just for a short answer, I would continue, but I wouldn't call it a business. I would call it a hobby.
Right.
Yeah.
In my case, let's talk about Vision Nexus. So under it we have Nexus Media. It's including the shows that I already have, 2 of them, as well as the other future shows that I'm going to start as time goes on, and as well as I'm an aspiring real estate entrepreneur. I want to venture into real estate, so it's going to be under Vision Nexus as well. But if we are saying now, for what I'm doing now, if I were to say I have to do it, but there's no return from it, I'm not going to make any return from it. Firstly, yes, I would keep going. But as you said, it's no longer a business. Rather, how you described it is like it just becomes something that you like to do, and you believe that there is a reason for you to keep on doing it, but it's not a business. I would keep on doing it, but then it will not be I don't think I would call it a hobby. Maybe it's just a grammatical matters or whatever, but for me, I feel like I would keep going, and it can just turn from being a business to just being like an NGO, the NPO, non-profit organizations. And for that purpose, to keep on serving the purpose that I believe God has bestowed in my heart. However, the other thing that I have is that there's a verse that tells us what God has promised for us. When he said, it is the Lord who gives you strength to make wealth. And when I try to visualize that verse together with what he said to Abraham, that I'm going to make you the father of all nations. And then when he said he will make Abraham the father of all nations, and then in turn told us that you who come after Abraham, you're the seed of Abraham. Wealth is your birthright, right? Which means wealth, in the Bible, wealth was measured in possessions, like having a huge flock. Being someone who has a lot of cows or stuff like that, and farms and all those things. But in this day and age, it has been translated into the monetary value. When we talk about NPO, I'm just trying to understand this thing in a perspective of saying, it looks like there's going to be always, some monetary value that has to be a return in everything that you can do, because we are living in the physical. We believe that we are souls and we are spirit, and we are not going to be here forever. But truth is that we are in the physical. Now, if we talk about the NPOs, they are non-profit organizations, but they get to a point where they also want sponsors. They get to a point where they also get sponsors, and those sponsors, they give them a certain reward for the work that they are doing. So everything kind of revolves around the reward of, some monetary value, or some things that you will have in possession for the service that you're providing. Now, my next question, or something that I want us to discuss, is how do we then ensure that these money, as people who are entrepreneurs and we want to achieve our dreams, we want to live the life that we want, how do we then ensure ourselves that we are not cubed in valuing the result or the return more than what we are doing? Because I've described that whether you go the NPO way, whether you go it's a private company, there's always going to be like a point where it gets to say, if it's an NPO, you apply for sponsorships, you get the sponsors, you get them in monetary value. If it's a private company, you make profit. That's it. But as a person, how do you ensure that money is not going to become a root of your evilness? Like, how do you ensure that that pressure that changes a lot of people and make them to become wicked, whereas they were not wicked when they were still developing? How do you ensure that you stay rooted in believing that this is not for the money? Money is just a byproduct. How can you ensure that?
I want to make an example of Solomon. You know, when God came to him, he said, ask for anything. Yeah. And he went to God, he says, oh my Lord, I'm about to inherit this kingdom from my father. I'm young. I don't know how to go about, leading these people, leading your nation. How do I go about this? And God gave him the wisdom to be able to fulfill that request, to fulfill, that mission,
Yes.
of leading Israel. I believe similarly, when we are exposed to, opportunities or amounts of maybe wealth, when we enter into wealth that we are not primarily, used to, or large amounts of money, to plainly put it, the one thing one can do to help themselves is to say, God, here's this large amount of money. I've never seen this money before. Help me to have the wisdom on how to go about utilizing this money and not squander it. And I believe God is faithful, to grant us that wisdom on how to be able to utilize that wealth and not squander. And what's also important is, there's a verse that also says, my people, I don't know if I'm misquoting it or quoting it out of context, but my people perish for a lack of knowledge, right? So once we have the knowledge that is required for something, and the sound mind that can be able to interpret that knowledge, and the understanding of what that knowledge means to a point of effectively applying that knowledge, one can be saved from perishing, or one can thrive rather, because of having that knowledge. So it's important that we open ourselves up to financial knowledge, financial literacy. So we know the basic principles of money, its origins.
Yeah.
And and understanding basic principles of what assets are, what liabilities, what puts money into our pockets, and what keeps our pockets leaking. Once we have those fundamental concepts of financial literacy, I think it puts us in a position that we're able to make more informed financial decisions, regardless of the sum. I hear people sometimes say when they get more money, they'll be able to do this and that, and then that point in time comes. Even myself, previously, I thought when I get to a certain level, when I get this much amount of money, it'll solve 1, 2, and 3. Only to put myself into bigger positions of needing more money, or you know what I'm saying. So it's a never-ending cycle unless you understand the principle, and that principle applies whether you are working on small amounts of money or large amounts of money, but the principle still remains. Once you understand the core principles of financial literacy, together with the wisdom that we receive when we ask God that, God, can you please help me to utilize, whatever funds have come to my exposure well. I think that combination, will help you to do better or to make better decisions with your money and not find yourself loving money, which as an eventuality is the root of all evil.
I get it, man. I get it. I think that's something that a lot of people who are leaders in South Africa, they lack it because greed and always watching your own only and not caring about the other people is what we are witnessing in this day and age in South Africa. But I think that's one thing that those kind of people, they need to understand. And maybe it even comes back to knowing the word of God or understanding the principles of God. I don't think a leader who understands the principles of God and values them would do such things that are happening today in South Africa. So yeah, I think as entrepreneurs, it's something that we need to grow up having in our mindsets, that we should always make sure that we are asking for wisdom to manage our finances and whatever that we need to manage. Because he said we should pray about everything. Anything we want, we should ask in prayer. It wasn't just about things that will make us feel good when we ask and get. It wasn't just about the cars, the houses, the whatever, but it was about even the thinking capacity, the way how we think, the way how we want to deal with situations. You know, he was mentioning all those things, that if you need a certain thing, just ask. I'm going to give it to you. Wisdom, ask. I'm going to give it to you. So I think that's a very important thing to have as an entrepreneur. And in closing, man, I think you've mentioned a lot of fundamental things that as a person who is venturing into entrepreneurship, they will help me and they can help my viewers who want to maybe venture into entrepreneurship. As much as it wasn't a very deep conversation, but those fundamentals, I think this is what matters, because these are the things that you need to have as you start whatever that you want to do. And once you have these things and you have mastered these fundamentals, then the next thing, it's just a matter of time. Your business will fly and you will serve your purpose, and then you will be satisfied. Because just to mention one thing, man, a lot of people, I've noticed that they work very hard, and then they achieve their goals, they achieve their riches and everything, and then in turn they come down, they come back and say, I'm depressed, I've got all the money but I'm not happy, I have all the wealth that I need, but I thought it was going to solve my problems, but it hasn't solved anything. So I think we are the generation that needs to prevent that for us and for our children, our grandchildren, all that, the following generation. I think we are those people who need to change that narrative to say we get it for the right reasons. Like we push this entrepreneurship journey. You put your brand for the right reasons, so that even in future, when you get to a point where now that byproduct is now a huge chunk of monetary value, you don't come back and say now you be overwhelmed because you were thinking it was going to solve a certain problem, but because it's not solving it, now you don't even value it anymore. So I think we are that generation that we need to do it with all due diligence and for the right reasons. I think that's what is going to give us joy and happiness. Like, I try to imagine it. How nice could it be to push a business, grow, have wealth, and just be in a peaceful space in your heart and in your mind? Problems will always be there, don't get me wrong. Problems will always be there, but I always think of how nice it could be to be in a point where, like you say, I'm in my right mindset, I'm not depressed, I'm not struggling with anxiety, I'm not struggling with the things that I thought were going to be solved by money, but I'm okay, I'm happy, I'm joyful. How nice can that be? when you're wealthy, when you have all the money that you wanted, and then you don't have those ideas of saying, man, I thought this money was going to solve this. Now I'm still there. Now you no longer value what you have achieved. So I think it's important we keep that kind of a mindset with us and keep pushing, man. Just keep pushing, and not to see where it's going to take us, but for us to see where we want it to go. Because the vision, we have it. You started your business because you had a vision for it. You know where you want it to end. So we keep pushing so that it can get to where we want it to be. In closing, what advice can you give to somebody your age, my age, somebody in their 20s right now, who they have an idea to start something, but they don't know how, or they don't know where to start? What advice can you give them?
Way to start is to use social media in the right way. Instead of searching things that can waste your time, rather focus on the content that will help you learn about whatever thing you're passionate about. There's various mediums, various social media platforms that you can spend your time scrolling and learning rather than wasting your time. And also reading, whether it's physical books, whether it's PDFs, whether it's audiobooks. Just reading on doing research as far as what you're interested in is concerned. And taking the step, start where you are with what you have. That's all I can say. Start where you are with what you have.
True.
And the more you've already started, that's when the doors start opening. I know everyone says the same thing, but that's how it goes. Once you're on the move, that's when you realize things that you wouldn't have known had you not started. So just start. Sure. But don't make a decision blindly. Do your research, your due diligence. HLOM and HLASEL. Arm yourself with that knowledge, equip yourself, and have understanding. Effectively apply that knowledge towards you pursuing your purpose. Yeah, that's my words in closing.
Wow, man. Very empowering words right there. Start with what you have. Put on your full armor, whatever you want to do. Yeah, I'm taking that too. Lord, yeah. Man, thank you very much. This was a great conversation, and I believe your business will flourish. I believe it's gonna keep on growing, and one of the days you're gonna become one of those brands we see on the billboards.
Thank you.
See HLOM and HLASEL, and everything will go according to God's plan. So thank you very much for coming through, man.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Check me out on HLOMandHLASEL.co.za.
You wanted to say? No, you can still
on
say.
Instagram at HLOMandHLASEL. Facebook at HLOMandHLASEL.
You've heard it from him. I'll attach the links to his social media platforms and his website. So if you want some tracksuits, you can order online and you will get yourself a HLOMandHLASEL. So in closing, please subscribe to this channel. Like, share, and comment down below to tell us your thoughts about this conversation, what you think we can do better going forward. I would really appreciate your feedback and your recommendations in how we are doing this whole podcasting thing. So please follow me on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. It's at Beyond the Vision. If you can't find it when you search Beyond the Vision, you can just search my name, Model Vision, and you should find it. And it's also, all the links are in the description of my channel. So thank you very much for watching. See you guys on the next episode. Peace.